the moonlight.
An excellent day for an exorcism.
I'm your number one fan.
Hey up, how we doing? My name is Scary Zara Mary and welcome back to Rate Scary, second episode, a podcast delving into what exactly makes horror rate scary. And I'm not on my own today, which is very, very lovely for my second ever episode because this is still very new and daunting. But I am joined by my bestie, Rose, otherwise known as Its Rose Bish. Hey up, Rose!
Hello! Hey up!
Hiya! Hey up, thank you for joining me.
Alright.
Thank you so
fun,
much.
isn't
How
it?
you doing?
I'm alright, yeah.
It's a bit different.
I know, isn't it?
This is like taking us back to when we first nurtured our friendship over Zoom during lockdown when we were part of a film club and used to review films online because we were lonely.
So lonely.
So we were lonely and we wanted to talk about films. So this is taking us right back to all those years ago, love.
Yeah. A real throw.
A real throwback. In this week's episode, we're going to dig into our favourite horror films from this year and our least favourite horror films from this year. We've got a few ones that are worth mentioning that didn't quite make our top list. But before we do that, I've got two questions for you, actually.
Oh, go on.
I initially only had one, but I've thought of another one.
Alright, go on then.
My first one is, what are you having for your tea?
Oh, I've already had my tea. And I had chili and
Oh,
rice.
she's an early bird.
I know.
Chili and rice.
Yeah. I was hungry. I was like, I'm going to have it now. Yeah, chili and rice, bit of cheese. It was good. Yeah.
Excellent. Good
What you
choice.
having- what you having?
Well, also on the Mexican theme, I'm having loaded nachos with beef brisket.
Ooh, that's a bit naughty. That sounds nice.
It is a bit cheeky, isn't it, for a Monday?
Yeah, that's not a Monday night tea, that's a Friday night tea.
No. Mexican Mondays, isn't it?
Yeah, all right. We'll
Clearly.
take that Mexican Monday.
We'll take that. I have got a more serious question for you, though, that is actually related to the podcast, rather than just what you're having for your tea. The podcast is all about what makes horror rate scary and what scares us and why. And I think I've said to you before, the film that scared me the most, absolutely terrified me, is The Woman in Black. Like, it still scares me to this day. So what is the film that scared you the most and why?
Ooh, good question. I'm very much a scared of paranormal. Always been paranormal. So like anything that like could happen. I feel like, I think Paranormal Activity is probably going to be my answer here because I'd only recently watched those films because I couldn't build myself up to actually watch them. I think it was because the shots of like the duvet moving in the night or like the door just swinging a little bit, like just those really subtle things. They're the thing that scared me as a kid.
Yeah.
So I think now that still terrifies me. So yeah, I think even though I have watched it, I was a big brave girl, put my big girl pants on, and I watched it. And yeah, I think Paranormal Activity or those films are up that kind of genre. Absolutely shit me. And E.T. slightly off piece, but can't watch that little idiot.
Oh, yeah. I
Horrible.
forgot that you've got a weird fear
Yeah.
of E.T.
No, little brown turd.
I'm still
thing.
really tempted to
No.
buy you a little E.T. for Christmas.
It'll be yeeted in the sea.
E.T. gets yeeted.
E.T. Yeah.
E.T. Oh dear. Right. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. I'll see if anyone else who comes on the podcast mentions E.T. I'm going to keep a little log
Please do,
of
a
which
little
films
E.T.
people
tally,
find
yeah.
the scariest. Oh dear. Right. We're going to get into the meat of the podcast now. And I thought, why not start on a positive? And what we're going to do is I'll mention one of my top films, you mention one of your top films, and then we'll do bottom films, then top, then bottom, and we'll work our way through there. Rather than doing all the fun, nice films first and then ending on a great big negative. So, do you want to go first?
Oh yeah, go
What's
on
your
then.
first top film?
So I've not.
Go
I
on.
was just saying I've not ranked these, so they're not like from 1 to 5 or anything like that. They're just
Yeah.
all bulked in there. But I think one that I really enjoyed, and I think most of these we've seen together at the cinema. But Late Night with the Devil was a big tick in the box for me. Yeah, I love that
Great
film,
shout.
and I wasn't expecting to enjoy it as much as I did. I think I felt going into it, I didn't really know anything about it. So yeah, I was very, very pleasantly surprised with that whole film. I think we spent most of the time just like, just doing that, and I think any film that'll do that, is a good big tick from me. I think I gave that a 5 out of 5. It was a
Did you?
Yeah.
I think I gave that a 4.5, so not far off.
Yeah, big hurt. I'm gonna say I'm gonna be terrible remembering what actors are in all sorts of, but I've got a terrible memory.
Well, we've got, I suppose the main one to mention is David Dastmalchian, who is like horror daddy, isn't he? Like, I am obsessed with that man.
Yeah, he's great.
He is beautiful.
Yeah.
He's been in some really great films, also some not so great films like The Boogeyman. Terrible film. Absolutely shocking. But I thought he was fantastic in Late Night with the Devil. That whole 70s TV aesthetic. More of that, please.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the kind of like behind the scenes on the screen flip throughout the whole film. I liked that 'cause it was like you were in it, then you weren't, then you were a viewer, then you were, I liked that change in point of view throughout the whole film. I thought that kept it really like, oh, what now? And then obviously, massive exorcism. So, or, the devil appears.
And she was really creepy as well. Like Ingrid Torelli, who plays the little girl who's possessed.
Yeah, she was really
She
good.
was creepy as shit.
Yeah,
and
really.
even David Dastmalchian said how scary she was on set as well.
Really?
So, yeah.
Oh, God.
Agree with that one. Good
Kids are
first
creepy,
choice.
though.
I've just had a little look on Letterboxd, and that has got an average rating of 3.4 stars, and that's
Okay.
based on over 575,000 reviews. So, popular film from this year,
Yeah.
definitely.
I thought it was good. I liked it. One of my top ones, definitely.
Excellent.
Go on then.
Shall I give you one of my top
Go on,
ones?
give us one. Give us one.
So, my first one is Mads. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it, but I've heard your review of it, that it's very good, so it's now on my list to watch. So please tell me that.
Yes.
Right, good.
So it was only released in October of this year. It's a French film, and it's shot in one continuous shot. So no editing, no cuts or anything like that. No multiple cameras. Just one camera following one person to the other, to the other, to the other. It starts off with a teenager, and he's going to a local drug deal, picking up some drugs. And on his drive home, he's stopped by a woman who is very clearly injured. She can't speak properly. She's got a tape recorder. She looks like she's escaped from somewhere. But then she dies in the car, and he's very drugged up. So he's like, shit, what do I do? So we kind of then follow him from there. And because you haven't seen it yet, and for anyone else who hasn't seen it yet, that's probably as much as I want to say. It is essentially a zombie film without being a zombie film. It's very impressive. Loads of people won't watch it because it's got subtitles. Guaranteed. Same thing happened with Infested from this year. We had two great big spider films, Sting and Vermines Infested. And most people have watched Sting because it's American and not Infested, and actually Infested is the better film. But yeah, definitely worth watching. I gave it 4 stars on Letterboxd. It's got a 3.5 star rating on there with over 21,000 reviews. It's available to watch on Shudder. So definitely worth a watch.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
It's on my Zara said I
Creepy.
should watch this lists.
Zara said I should watch. Have you got a letterbox list of Zara said I should watch?
I've just got a little notes app. I'm just like, oh, Zara said this is good.
Oh,
it's good, so I'll watch it. But I
cute.
haven't watched it yet. But I will.
Well, we'll now move on to the do not watch. So, what is your first terrible film from this year?
I'm going to give you the one that I was, not only did I think was a bit terrible, but also I was really disappointed in because I wanted it to be really good. Tarot. I wanted it to be really good. And the premise of it could have been amazing. Like the way they could have done it or things they could have done. It could have been like a franchise. It could have been all sorts, but I feel like it just absolutely flopped. It was really boring, really predictable, and I was just, I just came away like, what was that? That was a waste of time. And I'd waited ages for it. Because I love tarot and witchy crap and all that sort of stuff. I was like, oh my god, a horror! This is brilliant. Nah, rubbish, load of crap. Get in the sea.
Now, let's be honest, Rose, you didn't just walk away disappointed. You stomped out of that cinema angry.
I did do a bit of an angry
stomping your feet.
Yeah, I was quite
do you want to tell people why?
I can't remember why now. What was my reason? I had a really good reason.
It was because there was a non-main arcana card.
Yeah. So it was based on
go.
Yeah.
I've set her off.
Fingers out. I've remembered now. Yeah. So it was based on the major arcana of tarot cards, and one of them, I can't remember which one it was now, was not in the major arcana. So it was just like a random one in a normal deck. It was something like something of swords, just so they could use a bloody sword in it. Instead of sticking to a theme. Pick a theme and go with it, man. Don't just dick about just because it looks good. Oh, jeez, I forgot about that. Oh, you've riled me right up again now. I'm stomping.
Oh, excellent. Oh. But you did. You literally stomped out of the cinema like a petulant child,
taking me popcorn and going home.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was a big disappointment for me.
I agree. That was a terrible film. Can you remember what you rated it?
I think it was a 1 or a 1.5. When did we watch it?
Yeah,
oh no, I gave it a 2. I gave it a 2. Oh, and I also wrote a lot. It was the Six of Swords. The Six of Swords. It has no place in the major arcana.
Oh no.
In fact, one of the lines in my review was, come on, man, just do a fucking Google on tarot before you make the film.
Tarot.
Tarot. Anyway.
Oh dear. I mean, it's not got great reviews on Letterboxd. I also gave it a 2, and it has an average of 2, based on over 150,000 ratings. So, yeah, bit of a flop on that one. I watched a film recently via a screener from Paul Davis, who's a director. He's a brilliant director, really interesting guy. He does some of the panel discussions at For the Love of Horror. Huge Exorcist fan, which is why every time I talk to him, I'm just like, oh, heart eyes. But he directed a film a couple of years ago called Uncanny Annie. And when I watched it, I was like, oh, this is what tarot should have been like. Like, if they'd have done a really good job of tarot, then it would have come off like Uncanny Annie. It's got that same sort of vibe, but Paul did it better. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a massive fan of his. Like, he genuinely did do it better. So, recommend that one if you want to watch it.
Add that to my Zara said I should watch this list.
Add that to your Zara said I should watch list.
Right, come on then.
Oh dear. Right, let's stop you stomping around, love. I'm gonna go with. I might keep you stomping around because we also saw this one together. Night Swim.
Oh, fucking hell.
Yeah, exactly. So we kicked off the year with Night Swim. It was released in January of this year. Um, Directed by Bryce Maguire, who also wrote Baghead, not released
Oh,
that long
really?
afterwards, which I didn't think was horrendous. It's about a family moving into a new home, unaware that a secret from the house's past unleashes a malevolent force into the pool. And I think the best review that I heard at the time, it was more of a mention than a review, but Neil Hibbert from For the Love of Horror described it as poltergeist.
Very good.
I just thought that
Very
was
good.
amazing.
Lovely one there. Well done, Neil.
Oh, like, what an absolute disaster that film was. Just don't go in the pool. Done.
Tick.
Yeah, just don't go in the pool. Like, how difficult is that? It was the most rubbish film. Oh, that made me angry. I think I stomped out of the cinema with that one, to be honest. Half a star I gave that one. I think that's probably actually one of my lowest rated films of this year. And looking at the Letterboxd reviews, it's got over 113,000 ratings, but with a 1.7 average.
Ooh, God, that's quite low. I gave it a 2 actually, which I feel
You were feeling generous.
I know, I think I was, but I think the thing I remember about it was about 20% of it was a horror, and then about 80% of it was just about baseball. And it was just like, and the family, and just wanging on about baseball. And I was like, what's going on? No one cares. No one's here for this.
No.
And it just felt really disjointed.
Terrible. Yeah. And again, just don't go in the fucking pool.
Yeah.
Just leave it alone. Get your trunks off. Go and stick your joggers on. Go and flap about in the bath instead of getting in the haunted pool. Or go down the local swimming pool. Like, it's not hard.
Just done.
If someone said to me that pool's haunted, I just wouldn't go in it.
I think we would though. You'd want to poke it with a stick, wouldn't you? If someone was like, "That pool's haunted," you'd be like, "Well, is it? Shall we?"
You dip a toe in, wouldn't you?
Toe in, see if a ghost gives it a lick.
Yeah. Haunted lick.
Yeah. No, that was also on my bottom list. That was also on my bottom list.
Was it?
Yeah, one of mine.
Oh, I'm glad I'm not alone in that one. I didn't expect to be. I think we'll probably line up on a lot of our films, to be honest.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, well, let's move on to a positive, shall we? This is why I'm doing positive, negative, so that then we don't go down a total hole in our negatives. So let's pick the mood back up a little bit, shall we? What's one of your top films from this year?
One of my top ones, and I'm going to caveat with this with, I think it was this year. I didn't check, but I think it was.
Right.
Oddity.
Yes.
Which was, I think, was it on Shudder? I can't remember what it was that I
Yeah.
watched it on. Genuinely I stuck this on because I thought it looked alright. And it was definitely one of my top films of the year. It was creepy as fuck. I was engaged the whole time. Like, the story was just different and weird enough from other things that are similar that I think I just loved it. That the wood thing, I mean, I'm not going to do any spoilers, but the wood dude, Jesus Christ, my fucking soul left my ass. Like, I shat myself. And I think that's a sign of a good horror, isn't it, really? But I was definitely in my top ones.
And what did you rate that as?
I think I gave it a 4.5. I'm going to say I gave it a 4.5. Yeah, I did.
Not bad.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. I was really suspenseful as well. Like, you were like, what's going to happen? This is weird, but why? Like, the whole time, and I loved it. It's really good. But that wooden lad.
It did build good tension.
Yeah, really good tension.
That wooden lad.
Yeah. Yeah, want a fan. Who's a big groupie?
It was, and that gave me such a, again, not spoiling anything because it did only come out recently. I think it It's done the rounds at film festivals this year, and it was shown at London Fright Fest. So it only came onto Shudder at the back end of this year, and I crapped my pants in one of the. I think it was the very final scene.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah, pants were brown. Like just, but in a really good way. I was like, yes.
yeah.
So it's not often you're happy about shitting yourself, but watching Oddity, you can be. I had a little look at who the director was, and it's Damien McCarthy, and he also directed Caveat. Have you seen that?
Yes, I have.
Very
yes,
creepy
I have.
as
Yeah,
well.
with
So
the Irish one with the rabbit and the thing.
yes,
Right, yes, I have seen
yeah,
that. I liked that.
yeah, he knows how to do creepy really well. And clearly people agree. So if we go off Letterboxd again, I gave that 4 stars. It's got an average of 3.4 based on over 107,000 ratings.
Not bad.
So another good one.
Not bad.
Excellent. Shall I give you one of mine?
Come on then. Give us one.
Do you want another one?
Give us another one.
So my second one to mention that is one of my favourites from this year is The Coffee Table. So this is directed by Kaye Kassar. It was technically released at the back end of last year, but it didn't make it onto streaming until this year. It's about a couple that are having a really difficult time in their relationship. They've just become parents. They're redecorating their apartment, and they decide to buy a coffee table. It's pitched as a horror comedy. I found it absolutely horrific to watch, but on reflection now, I can laugh about it. So maybe that's why it's a horror comedy. But if it is comedy, it's very, very dark, black comedy, because I can't even get my words out. This film still shits me up. I watched it at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'd not had a very good night's sleep, so I was probably on edge already. And I'd heard a few people talking about it. Sam from Horror Halloween and Home had posted about it, and I had to have a break from it. I paused it 3 times and had to step away from it because I was so anxious. It built so much tension, and also there were really, really socially awkward moments which just do something to me. Like, social tension really, really scares me. And yeah, I cannot remember the last time I had to turn off a film, walk away, give my head a wobble, and have a stern word with myself before returning to it. So I know that you've seen this as well. Like, I gave it 4.5 stars on Letterboxd. Still fairly unseen, unknown, again, probably because it's subtitled. It's got 34,000 ratings, but it has got a 3.3 star rating. What did you think of it?
I'd actually put this in my honourable mentions because I think I gave it 3 stars. I enjoyed it, but I felt like I was about to have a heart attack at any second for the whole film.
Yeah.
But like, it was almost like too much. I was like, this is good, but this is also a really bad film. But I also can't stop watching it. What is happening?
Yeah.
What is going to happen? I don't know what I'm doing with my life. It was a bit of an existential film for me. It was like good, but also terrible. And if there's any ounce of comedy in there, I do not know where that is, because I don't know. It just wasn't. It wasn't funny. It was like, ooh.
No.
Unless they mean funny by, oh, this is so cringy and like, you know, twist your intestines so much because you want to crawl inside your own body that it's funny. if that's what they meant by comedy, then tick. But it's so weird, such a weird film. But I think I would probably give it a higher rating if I watched it again now than what I gave it.
I don't go back to it though. Like, this is the thing. There's a bit of me that really wants to rewatch it because I did love it because of how scared and how tense it was. But also, I don't want to put myself through that again.
Yeah, it does feel like it was like turmoil rather than enjoyment. I'm just trying to find my review for it, and I can't remember what I actually put for it. I can't remember. Oh yeah, I gave it 3 stars.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do not know if I enjoyed this or not. Yeah, it was a big sort of what the fuck, but I think I enjoyed it. So yeah, definitely a good one.
That is a fair assessment of the coffee table, I think, and anyone that I've spoken to tend to say, I think I enjoyed it. I don't know. So, yeah.
I still
Be
don't
interested
know.
to know what other people thought. No, I'm very much the same. But for that reason, that is why it is in one of my top films
Yeah.
for this year. Excellent. Right, let's get you back onto stomping out the cinema. What's next on your bottom
There's no
list?
stomping. Right, I'm gonna do that one. I think I gave this 1.5 stars because it was crap. Trap.
Yep.
Which was we went. Did we go see this together? I think we did, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
It had the substance of a wet napkin. It just it just was like when Josh takes his is it Josh? Is it Josh who is
Josh
it?
Hartnett.
Yeah, when he takes his top off, that was like the most exciting bit of the whole film. And that cake looked
I
really
forgot
good.
he even took his top off. Like,
Yeah.
that's how bad it was. If you can forget that Josh Hartnett takes his top off, then you know it's a terrible film.
So bad. It was just so I can't even remember much about it because I think I've tried to block it from my memory, but it was just so boring, and it was just like a really shit escape room. Like, have you
Yeah.
ever been to an escape room that's like just kind of like really boring and you just get out? It was like that but made into a film. It was really weird. I still can't get my head around it, to be honest.
I also have this in my bottom films. So it's M. Night Shyamalan, who does release mixed films, but on the whole, I think he releases good films. But I feel like he's a bit of a victim of his own success because he's become known as the person that does twists in his films. So like The Sixth Sense and like Old. But it also stars his daughter, Salika. She plays Lady Raven. I think she's a great singer. She's just a terrible, terrible actor. And I'm probably being really, really unfair to her, but there was no chemistry between her and Josh Hartnett. I think the script was really poor as well. Like, it felt like it had been written by AI. So you were
really
never
did.
rooting either for the villain or the protagonist. Yeah, I found it incredibly frustrating. And I think I said to you, I nearly nodded off in the cinema. I'd fully reclined my chair and I'd put my hood up for the last 20 minutes because I just thought, what a waste of time this is.
I think we
I
kept
thought I
looking
might
over
as well have a
each
little
other
snooze.
and like going, oh god, it's still going. Can we go?
Like one of my pet peeves is looking at phones in the cinema, and even I was looking at my phone to check how long we had left. Like, I broke my own rule in the cinema with Trap. That's how buggering bad it was.
Yeah, it wasn't good. I don't know. I don't know. The premise just felt a bit off. Even before I went in and watched it, I felt like, oh, it seemed a bit weird. And you can almost guess what was going to happen in the first like 10 minutes. It was really weird. I don't know. It just didn't hit the mark.
It was just stupid. So, for anyone who hasn't seen it, it basically follows Josh Hartnett, a father, taking his teenage daughter to a pop concert of Lady Raven, played by Salika Shyamalan, only to realise that they've entered the centre of a dark and sinister event. And it's just stupid. It's just stupid. Why anyone attending that pop concert wouldn't think, there's a lot of security here for this. Like, what's going on? And why does the guy who Josh Hartnett's character go talk to on the t-shirt stall or whatever it is, why is he like, oh yeah, they're trying to catch a serial killer? How does he know about it? Like, if it was that serious, do you think the CIA or FBI or whoever it is would be telling bozo on the t-shirt stand what the plan is.
Yeah, it's
I don't think.
really, really weird. Yeah,
So many plot holes. I think I rated it 1 star.
Yeah,
And
that was just for that
it's
nice
got
cake.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's got 2.7 stars on Letterboxd, nearly over 600,000 ratings. So it's been viewed a lot, and clearly people felt the same as us, I think.
Yeah, in the bin.
Yeah, terrible, terrible. Right, it's my turn to stomp around now.
Come on,
I'm going to have a
stomp it.
right good stomp. So my next one that I thought was terrible from this year, and I know you have seen this as well, is The Platform 2. So following on from the success of The Platform, Platform 2 was released in October. Same director as The Platform, which I was surprised to read about, actually. I thought maybe they'd switched directors and maybe that's why it was so terrible. So Golda Gostello Urrutia follows the same premise. We've got this vertical prison. So instead of the cells being next door to each other, they are stacked on top of each other. And there is a platform filled with food that descends through the prison each day. So if you're at the top of the prison, great, get all the food you want. If you're at the bottom of the prison, chances are you're not going to be eating. We find out halfway through it's actually a prequel.
Yeah.
Like, great, okay. And that's fine. Like, sometimes that happens in films. But this film and this director disappeared up his own arsehole. What happened? He just went way too conceptual. Almost added, again, like a weird paranormal element to it, stupidly. I don't know why. And it just made no sense. I was so bored. I really powered through because it's very rare I ever turn a film off. But I gave it half a star. What did you think of The Platform 2?
I can't remember what I gave it. That's how bad it was. But I thought the first half, I think I gave it 2.5. I think the first half was alright. I was enjoying it until they got to like, oh, it's a prequel. Like, alright, fine. And then it just went like absolutely batshit. Like, it didn't make any sense. Like, there was some weird, like religious stuff going on.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember it was, there's like all sorts of weird like ethereal stuff and like I don't know, it just did not.
Yeah.
You were like, okay, what's that got to do with what? It just didn't make any sense. It was honestly like it had been directed by 2 different people, the first half and the second half, for me. Like, it just felt really split and broken. It didn't know what it wanted to be. It had a few decent gory bits in it, but that was it, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's available on Netflix, but so is The Platform. So I'd recommend just go watch The Platform and don't bother with The Platform 2.
Platform. I love the first one. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same. Right. Let's get back onto the positives, love.
Okay.
Kick me off. What's your next one to mention?
Which one do I pick? I've technically got 6 on my top, but we don't have to go through them all.
Okay.
Let's elephant in the room. We're both wearing Terrifier tops. Terrifier 3. Absolutely. Loved it. I think it was. I don't think it was my favourite. I think the second one was my favourite out of the Terrifier franchise. But Christmas Art the Clown was absolutely top-notch horror comedy for me, and I love him. He's a lovely little fella, just a little guy.
No.
He loves Santa.
Just a creepy fella.
He's a creepy fella. But there was some really great, great kills, great gore. A little bit odd with a couple of bits, like the bomb scene and stuff like that. Didn't quite fit, but
I think it did.
Do you? See, I wasn't quite sure because it didn't quite feel like art, that for me. I know he doesn't have like a specific tool he uses. He uses everything, doesn't he? That's his thing. But I don't know, just a bomb just felt a bit different, just not quite right.
Do you think it's because it's removed from him? So, like, typically art uses things like a hacksaw.
Yeah.
Do chainsaw like we saw in this, knives,
Yeah.
anything, but it's usually something handheld.
Yeah, I
Do you
think
think maybe that's
is,
why?
I think that's 100% what it is. He is he's very hands on, like as we know from like
Yeah.
rubbing salt in the wound and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
From the second one, like he enjoys that, and you can see like the joy and the laughter that you get, that he gives from that. So I feel like that isn't particularly conducive to what he would normally do. I think that was the only bit that I kind of felt was not quite on brand for art, if you will. But the rest of the film, absolutely loved it. It was great. It was a top one for me. I'll definitely be watching it around Christmas.
Yeah, I'm the same. My sister, I text her, and she's a recent Terrifier fan. She's like a little secret horror fan. And I went to see Terrifier 3 times at the cinema. So first time was the gala screening in London, where I cried because I was about 3 feet away from Damien Leone, and I was like, Damien. But Molly, my sister, did want to. She was curious. She'd seen some clips online of the bedroom scene and the hacksaw scene, so took her to go and see Terrifier 3. And we've said that we are going to watch it on Christmas Day.
Yay.
So, yay.
Yay.
I know. Merry Christmas.
Yeah. No, I definitely think it was up there for me for one of my favourite horrors this year. I was very excited for it to come out, and I love art, so yeah, it was good.
Same. And I think a lot of people feel the same as well. Like, I gave it 4 stars on Letterboxd. It's got an average of 2.9 based on 223,000 ratings, so very well watched. Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah, I gave it 4.5. Yeah. I think I must have watched the scene where he sees Santa through the window 100 times.
Same.
Like, it's my absolute favourite, where he meets him in the bar and he's just like, oh my god, like it's some kind of celebrity to him. I love it.
Yeah. When he's like looking through the window, first of all, and he spots him, and then he runs through the door and shoves the girls out of the way, like, move, bitch.
So good. I love it. I like how it's.
I definitely need a rewatch.
Yeah, it sparked a load of like theories about all sorts of stuff as well at the end of it, like that he's the devil, or and Sienna's an angel or something, like, and there's going to be something else in the fourth. There's all sorts of speculation, different stuff. But I quite like that it's made that conversation as well. It's good. Well written, this one, I think.
Yeah. I agree. Like, no doubt at some point I'm going to do an episode on Terrifier franchise. But I loved the first one because there was no reason for Art to do what he did. He was just sinister and evil. Terrifier 2 is probably my least favourite because it went on for too long and I wasn't too keen on the fantasy element that was introduced. And then I think Terrifier 3 is actually my favourite. I feel like they got the balance right between really good storyline, but also Art just being messy and sinister, but also really goofy as well, which I liked.
Yeah. They've really lent into the goof of Art in this one. I think that's what everyone wants. So yeah, it was good. I really liked it.
Right. My next best one. So this is my 3rd favourite film from this year, and it's one that I only actually watched last week.
Oh.
So I've had a real shuffle around of my top 5, and that is Strange Darling. So like I said, I only watched it recently, and it had been on my watch list for ages, but it had barely any cinema release this year, so never got a chance to actually go and see it at the cinema. And it was only thanks to Darren from the Slaughtered Lamb podcast mentioning it last week that I went, oh yeah, I need to watch that. So watched it through Amazon. It's very much a cat and mouse type thriller. It keeps you on your toes. It's set out in 6 chapters, but it's not shown sequentially, so it's almost got a bit of a Tarantino vibe to it. And it's about a one-night stand which spirals into a serial killer's murderous spree, and that's probably all you need to know about it before you go into it, because the less you know, the better. But the lead actress, Willa Fitzgerald, is incredible. Like, she would be brilliant in even more horror films, and starring opposite her is Kyle Gallner, who plays Joel in both Smile and Smile 2. Like, he was brilliant in it as well. They had fantastic chemistry on screen. Have you seen it?
No, I've not.
Or does it need to go on the Zara says I need to watch these list?
It needs to go on the Zara told me to watch this list, yeah.
I gave it 4.5 stars. It's got over 130,000 reviews on Letterboxd with a 3.5-star rating. So really highly rated.
Yeah.
Definitely worth a watch.
I'll have to give that a watch.
There you go.
Very good.
So, shall we move on? What's your next bottom one? Let's go back to stomping out of the cinema.
I can't remember how you feel about this film, but I thought it was boring and garbage. The Strangers. I can't remember. I vaguely remember you telling me that the original, there was one before this, wasn't it? That it was like this is a remake. And you really liked the first one, if I remember, or really liked it before.
Yes,
anyway,
correct.
But this was one of the most boring pieces of cinema that I have ever seen in my entire life. I am not kidding. I sat there for nearly 2 hours going, "Is that going to happen?" And then at the end, it was like, "Oh, part 1." I was like, "You fucking kidding me? That could have been half an hour." Honestly, it's one of the worst pieces of like cinema. Like, nothing happened. It weren't even suspenseful. Just some dudes. What? I can't even talk about it for a long time because there's nothing to talk about. It was just really boring. Oh, I'm stomping again now. But it was just so boring. It was so boring. And I don't know what part 2 is going to be. If it's more of the same, I'm all right. I'm not going to watch it. Maybe something happens in the second one. I don't know. But
So the one that I was going to talk about is Trap, but we've already talked about Trap. And the one that I was going to talk about last as my bottom one is The Strangers Chapter 1.
Ah, good.
What
good.
absolute pile of dog turd this was. So I love the original one with Liv Tyler. I don't think it's a masterpiece by any means, like some people say it is, but I think it's a really great home invasion story, really sinister. This released in May of this year, and you're right, it's the first installment in a 3-chapter story.
3? 3?
Three chapters, love.
Oh, fuck off. No.
Yeah. And it's about a couple who break down. They're forced to spend the night in a remote cabin, but they are then terrorized by 3 masked strangers who seemingly have no motive and show no mercy. Which is a fantastic premise, and that's why the original is so well loved. But this was essentially just shot for shot the same as the original Strangers, but without any of the pace, without any of the suspense, with stupid decisions. The original is far superior. This was a complete waste of time. I barely wrote any notes for this film. That's how little I care about it. It was just rubbish and pointless. It was directed by Rennie Harlin, who unfortunately is also directing Chapter 2 and 3. Yeah. I gave it 1 star, and it has 1.9 stars on Letterboxd with 107,000 ratings.
Wow. I also gave it 1 star, and my description says, "All fart and no shit," which is what I think we described it as leaving the cinema. Now
yes,
I remember.
All fart, no follow through.
Yeah, not the one for me.
No, same. Well, my next bottom one was going to be Trap, and I feel like we've given that enough airtime. So, why don't we move on to back onto the positives? So what was your next positive that you had?
So I'm going to go with one that I gave 5 out of 5. And it was my first solo cinema experience. I've never been to cinema by myself until I went to see this, but it was Heretic. Now, I know you've got you're not sold on it 100%, but I absolutely loved it. I thought, what's his chops? What's his name?
Hugh Grant.
That's the one. I thought he was really good in it. He makes a really good villain. I really enjoyed the like the religious chat throughout, like comparisons. That's the word I want. And like it was just really creepy and weird. And then it was a bit like, oh, this is a weird extra bit. I'm not going to spoil it. But then, you know, some other stuff happens and it's like, oh my God. And I genuinely just couldn't keep my eyes off the screen. I think it was shot really beautifully as well, like the way that it was done. I don't know, I just loved it. I want to watch it again. I haven't seen it since, but I would like to watch it again. I just thought it was really good. It was right up my cup of tea.
Right up your cup of tea.
Right up my cup of tea. Yeah, bit of religious, bit of creepy, bit of like what's going to happen. Oh, there's someone in the basement. It was great. It was good. 5 out of 5 for me.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. And I didn't think it was terrible. I think I gave it 3 stars out of 5. Yeah. For anyone who hasn't seen it, it's about 2 missionaries, so from the Church of the Latter-day Saints, otherwise known as Mormons, played by Sophie Thatcher and Chloe East, and they knock on the wrong door, essentially. Well, they knock on what they think is the correct door, but sitting behind it is Mr. Reed, played by Hugh Grant, who is a theology major. He's obsessed with religion, and they basically become ensnared in a very dangerous game of cat and mouse with him. I agree, Hugh Grant makes an excellent villain, but for me it felt like Hugh Grant was just playing a slightly creepier version of Hugh Grant. I thought his monologues that he did were fantastic, and I really enjoyed the first 2/3 of the film. It was the third act that let it down for me, but not in a way where I wouldn't watch it again. I would quite happily rewatch Heretic. I just think because I think if you've got some sort of religious background, if you've been raised in a religious family, if you've gone to like Catholic school, if you used to go to Sunday school or anything like that, then you will absolutely be sucked in by this film. Yeah. I don't have any of that, so it didn't really tickle my pickle.
I went to a Church of England primary school, and it was thrust upon me in my childhood, so maybe I could relate a little bit to this more than I thought, but no, I quite liked the third act, because I liked how jarring it was compared to the rest of it, and it was like, whoa, oh, all right then, but I liked that about it. I thought it was good, and I like creepy Hugh Grant just being creepy Hugh Grant. I feel like that was what sold it for me. It was good. No, I really like that. I'll be getting that on DVD.
Oh, she's adding it to the physical collection.
I am. Right, come on then.
Right, my next one. So my next top one is Longlegs. So we went to see this together, didn't we, love?
We did.
And then I think I saw it at the cinema 3 or 4 times. Like, I think I wrote in my Letterboxd review, I'm going to make this my whole personality for at least a year, which isn't wrong, given I also dressed up as Longlegs for Halloween. So it was released in the summer of this year. It was directorial debut of Osgood Perkins, who is also directing The Monkey, which is releasing in February of next year. And it's about an FBI agent played by Micah Monroe, who I thought was incredible in this, uncovering a series of occult clues that she needs to solve to end a serial killer's spree. Like I said, Micah Monroe was brilliant. I loved her in It Follows as well. But I feel like the person who really stole the show was Nicolas Cage as Longlegs. He was disturbing. He was creepy. It's really unfortunate that he's turned into somewhat of a meme now and parodied over and over again. And I include myself in that, like I said, because I dressed up as him. But I thought the whole film, it had vibes of Silence of the Lambs and Seven, and they're two of my favourite films. The use of colour was fantastic. So like black and white and a really bright red. So it was really gorgeous to look at. I thought the marketing campaign was exceptional. So releasing codes and clues. There was a website that had all of the backstory of the murdered victims. There's a whole debate around whether it's horror. Like, I think it is horror. I think it's psychological horror. Yeah. It's got really fantastic tension. I do wish that there had been a bit more of the decoding in the film. Like, I wish it had dragged it out a little bit more in terms of trying to figure out who Longlegs is. But that is the only negative that I would give this. I gave it 4.5 stars. It's a fantastic one to go back and rewatch because there is so much in the background that you don't pick up on the first watch. It's got over 1 million ratings on Letterboxd with 3.4 stars.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that was
one
also
of my favourites.
In my top ones, Longlegs. It was just so weird. I remember like coming away from it being like, what was that? I don't know, I watched, but I also immediately want to watch it again. And I think that for me is a sign of a good film. Like, not really fully comprehending how much you've enjoyed it until you see it again, I think is a big plus point for me for watching any film. So yeah, Longlegs is up there for me also.
Excellent. Right, let's descend back into the negatives. Hopefully we haven't got many more now that we need to mention.
So this is my last one. I only have one. So I think this isn't that these films were bad. I don't think they were bad films. I think for me it was when they were released. I'll tell you. So The First Omen and Immaculate are the two films I'm talking about. Like, they're both
controversial.
Good films. Yeah, they're both good films. I think for me, Immaculate wins it. But I think they were released within, I think, was it a few days of each other or a week of each other? Not very long. I think Immaculate was first.
I think, it wasn't long at all.
Yeah, Immaculate was first, so we watched that, and then a few days later or a week, we watched The First Omen. And for me, they were essentially the same fucking story. And I think that they were, essentially, or for the most part. And I think that, for me, ruined both films. Because it was like, well, this doesn't feel very original now. This doesn't, and I feel like I got them confused a lot, and it might just be my brain. I think Immaculate for me was probably a lot better than The First Omen. I think it's probably the lowest of my bottom five. No, the highest of my bottom five, if you like. So it's not, But I think, I think just the timing of the release and the stories being so similar ruined them both for me this year.
I think that's fair to include it in your bottom films, even though I think individually, had they been released further apart, they are both standalone great films. So I totally get where you're coming from. I also preferred Immaculate to The First Omen. I know we saw it first, so maybe there's a little bit of bias around that. But I thought Sydney Sweeney did a better job in the lead role, personally, rather than Nell Tiger-Free, who was in The First Omen. I also feel like The First Omen, it was a prequel, so a little bit different, but I felt like it kind of, it changed the story of The Omen, which I didn't like, because I love The Omen. I think I'm just having a look now actually, I gave The Omen 3.5 stars. I gave Immaculate 4.5 stars. So it was definitely up there as one of my favourites, Immaculate. I gave them both 3.5 actually, but I think Immaculate would be slightly... Interesting. I think I would probably knock The First Omen out of 3 if I was to rewatch them now. But yeah, I do think The First Omen especially suffered from the release of Immaculate before it. But yeah, not necessarily bad films, but I think bad timing for me.
So not my favourites.
Fair. Very fair. This is also my last negative one to mention. And I did a review on this recently. So sorry, Rose, and sorry to everyone else, but you're going to have to hear me rant about it again. But my last negative one is Black Cab. And this released onto Shudder last month. It's about a couple who jump in a black cab and their driver, played by Nick Frost, diverts them to a remote, haunted road, revealing disturbing motives and his true intentions. Now, I love Nick Frost. I absolutely adore him. We met him at HorrorCon in 2022.
Yep.
And he's bloody lovely. We had a right nice cuddle and a picture with him. And he's such a talented actor. And I did think he was fantastic in this role, like playing some sort of unhinged serial killer, potentially. I feel like that really suits him. And I don't think he was terrible in this film at all. I just thought the film was utter shit.
Yeah.
It started off down the right track. The first half, like I said, paints him out to be a serial killer. And then they added a paranormal element for no good reason whatsoever. Have you seen this film? Did you watch it?
I have watched this now, yeah. I have watched it. I completely agree.
And?
Yeah, I completely agree.
The good.
If there was no ghost in it, and they'd kept it as like a serial killer film, and like there could have been a bit of twist with his family or whatever, it would have been quite a good film, I think. But no, they wanged in a ghost, a bad ghost at that. It wasn't even and it just all fell apart from there for me. I was a bit like, oh, all right. Fair enough.
just shocking. Absolutely shocking. And it's such a shame. And I feel so bad, like I said, because I do love Nick Frost. I'd love to see him in this type of role, but just in a different film, and just keep it as a serial killer film rather than adding a shit ghost in. Yeah. I gave it 2 stars. I think I was feeling quite generous on Letterboxd on that day. Clearly, the guilt for Nick Frost kicked in, but it has got a 2.2 star rating. So
I gave it. I also gave it 2 stars.
Okay.
My whole review was God, I was bored.
You really put the effort into that one.
Well, yeah, that was it. Yeah. So yeah, very much agree with you on that
dear. One. Glad I'm not standing alone on this island of black cabbage shit. Oh dear. Right. Shall we finish on a positive? Because I've got a funny feeling you and I have both got the same number 1 film.
Well, we've not mentioned it yet. So
no,
it's gotta be.
That's what makes me think, as raging feminists that we are, if this is wrong, I'm going to look like an absolute knob. But on the count of 3, we'll say it at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
The Substance.
The Substance. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Rose, have you ever dreamt of a better version of yourself?
Always.
Doom, 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 doom.
Oh, it's so weird, but I loved how weird it was. Yeah, it was great. Absolute masterpiece. Yeah.
And considering it was only released in September of this year, immediately that shot to my number 1 spot. Yeah. It was written and directed by Coralie Farjat, who also directed Revenge, which is another fantastic film from 2017. The Substance is about a fading celebrity played by Demi Moore, who looks incredible in this film and is incredible in this film. And she takes a cell-replicating substance that temporarily creates a younger, better version of herself, played by Margaret Qualley, who was equally good. I would say that Demi Moore was better, personally, but Margaret Qualley was also amazing. It's stunning to look at. like I wanted to lick the screen. It's reminiscent of Stanley Kubrick. It's also got a bit of Wes Anderson in there. But then the film itself is body horror, so it has tones of The Fly, Tusk, Society. The last 20 minutes are absolutely bonkers batshit.
Yeah.
Like, considering it's 2 hours, 20 minutes long. So it's a long horror film, but it is worth it to sit through for those last 20 minutes alone, I think.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's just so mental, the last like half an hour, 20 minutes, that you could, if you explained it to someone, you'd be like, I'm never watching that. That sounds absolutely terrible. But I could not take my eyes off the screen. I was like, this is ridiculously good, but also what the fuck. I loved it. I've only seen it once, and I only saw it a few weeks ago. Like I was late to the substance train, and I just it was brilliant. Everything about it, and even just like the undertones of like feminism and like body and body positivity and or body hate or whatever you want. Like even those themes, are just, like this, obviously very strong. But just like, even things like, where she's binging all the food, you're like, you do that. You are those two people. And I think, I don't know, I just loved it. Like, it's really relatable, especially as a woman, I think.
You're right. Like, the film is an amazing allegory for the female beauty standard, female aging, female diets, the change in women's bodies post-birth. Even a hint of like how women are perceived as disgusting because they bleed, like with the last 20 minutes. But I've seen so many women talking so positively about this film, but I think what's been really nice to see is the amount of men that have been to see it and have also absolutely raved about it. Yeah. So, because it is 100% a feminist film, Coralie, the director, has said that outwardly. So it's nice that it's getting the kudos that it deserves. Yeah. Even the sound design, like the sound in the film is disgusting. Yeah. It's so squelchy.
It really is,
but it works. Yeah, it's a wet film.
It's a wet film.
It's I gave it 5 stars. It's got over 1.2 million ratings on Letterboxd, with a 3.9 average. It's film of the year, hands down.
Yeah,
hands down.
I think it's definitely my top. Yeah, I think it's my top. Maybe with Heretic, because I really enjoyed that. But yeah,
that's fair. That's fair. What others did you have that were worth mentioning that we might not have covered then?
Yeah, so I had a little honourable mentions list. I had The Coffee Table, which obviously you covered. I had The Watchers on there, which was the...
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, because I really enjoyed that film. I thought it was really interesting, and I would enjoy another film in that kind of universe. I really like the premise of it. I like the story behind it and the kind of folklore. I really liked that about it. It was good. I had 2 more. I had A Quiet Place Day 1, which I think took us both by surprise how much we enjoyed it.
Yeah.
With Bloody Cat. I've never loved a cat so much.
Frodo the cat.
Yeah. And then Lisa Frankenstein for me, which I think was this year still. I think it was this year, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah. So, but they're my honourable mentions of films that I really enjoyed, but probably didn't quite make top 5. Yeah.
Nice.
Have you got a few honourables?
I had 3 that didn't quite. Yeah, 3 that didn't quite make the top 5. So 2 that we've mentioned already. Terrifier 3 just snuck out of my top 5. Same with Late Night with the Devil. Yeah. Just snuck out of the top 5, which we've talked about. But the other one that I had, which hasn't had a release yet, but I have so many feelings about this film. Again, it's one that I've reviewed recently. It's called Strange Harvest: Occult Murder in the Inland Empire.
Catchy.
It comes from Stuart Ortiz. I know, it's like the longest title for a horror film ever, but it is incredible and more people need to see this. I'm really hoping that Shudder picks it up for next year. Yeah. So it's gonna be huge. Stuart Ortiz is. Have you seen Grave Encounters?
No, not seen that. That's on my list. It's on my Zara list.
What?
I know.
Right, put that to the top of your bloody list.
Oh, all right.
So Grave Encounters is, if you know, you talked at the beginning about how Paranormal Activity messed you up. Mm-hmm. Grave Encounters should definitely be on your watch list based on that. It is one of the best, if not the best, found footage paranormal films to ever exist. And he directed both that and this. And it's a true crime mockumentary about a serial killer, and it's amazing. Okay. So, yeah, that didn't quite squeeze into my top 5, but I wanted to mention it because it is so good. Yeah,
cool. I'm going to have to watch that when I can.
There you go. You're coming away with some good recommendations.
You've always got the good stuff. You've got the goods.
Thanks. I thought it was worth mentioning as well. I put a little question box on my Instagram just to ask my followers what their favourite horror was from this year. I had 61 responses, and coming out on top was The Substance. 12 people mentioned it. Terrifier 3 had 8 mentions. Longlegs had 7 mentions. Both Late Night with the Devil and Smile 2, which we haven't talked about, had 5 mentions.
Made it onto my honourable mentions list. I did enjoy that. Yeah, I
did too. Immaculate and Alien Romulus had 4 mentions. The First Omen and Oddity had 3 mentions. Lisa Frankenstein and Abigail had 2 mentions each. See, I forgot about Abigail releasing this year as well, which I also really enjoyed.
Yeah, that was good.
And then there was 1 mention each for Azrael, fantastic film, Beetlejuice, Cuckoo, Maxine, Strange Darling, and The Coffee Table.
Yeah. All good films. To be honest.
It's been a really good year actually for horror. Like, I was looking back at 2023, which I don't think was anywhere near as good as it has been this year for horror releases, given the start that we got was Bloody Night Swim and The Haunted Pool. We finished the year in a better place.
Poltergeist, yeah.
Poltergeist, yeah. But speaking of like year of horror, next week I will be releasing an episode where I'm looking ahead to 2025 and talking about some of the biggest releases that are coming our way and what I'm most excited for. And then just as the year comes to a close, I'll be kicking things off with an episode all about gothic horror. So the first of the subgenres that I am delving into, because it very nicely coincides with the release of Nosferatu, which I'm very excited for. Yeah.
Me too.
So, yeah, I cannot wait to see that. We're obviously going to go to the cinema to see that. Dressed as vampires with little, dressed as Nosferatu with our little bald caps on. Creeping about the Odeon. Yeah, exactly. Rose, hello. Do you want to drop your socials? Tell people where they can find you online to come and stalk you.
I am Its Rose Bish on Instagram and TikTok. I'm there. I'm doing spooky stuff. I'm about. Come find me.
You're about. You're about. I'm about. You're haunting some corners of the internet. For anyone that hasn't seen it yet, me and Rose do regularly go to the cinema together. We do spooky activities together. Come and join us online. Do follow Rose online as we go to the cinema. And join us for Tuppy Tours, which is where we bring a Tupperware of snacks to the cinema each week and rate each other's snacks. Yeah. So you can find Rose on socials. Give her a follow. But while we're talking of socials, I'll do my little plug, which I'm really not used to doing yet. But you can follow either at Rate Scary on Instagram and YouTube, or at Scary Zara Mary on pretty much any other social media channel that exists: Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Threads. It would mean the world to me if you could like and subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you are listening on your podcast player, drop a follow and leave a review, please. It really helps. And that's it, really. So thank you, Rose, for joining me. It's been rate lovely and rate scary to talk about our favourite films. Yeah. You've not stomped about too much.
Not too much.
And I'm sure this will be, it's not going to be the last time that you come on the podcast either. I have already got maybe another episode lined up.
Oh. Okay,
if
then.
you'd be willing to join me. So we'll talk about that in a second and leave the viewers in suspense.
Okay.
Would you like to say goodbye to the listeners?
Goodbye, listeners.
Goodbye, listeners. See you with this then. I'll see you soon.
Bye.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare, huh?
I'll be right back.
Game over. It's all for you.
Beware the moonlights.
An excellent day for an exorcism.
I'm your number one